What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I. I believe that until proven guilty, every man, woman, and child in this country is innocent.
Better call Saul.
Savage.
Ladies and gentlemen, One Piece 1066 is out. If you have not read it, turn this video off, because I'm going to be talking about the single greatest twist in the post-time skip era. Okay, there are spoilers going on here. This is the most important chapter since 967. Fun fact, that was the first chapter review on the channel. That's almost 100 chapters ago. And that's entirely on purpose. Oda likes to mirror things 100 chapters later. He laughed. It was 100 chapters ago. I can only imagine what we're going to get in 1067. But here, lore piece, okay? This is the best twist of the post-time skip era. This is one of the most important chapters of the post-time skip era, and even by and large, the series itself. Jaguar D. Saul being alive, not a huge twist on its own. People have been theorizing it for over 15 years. I was weekly during the Robin flashback, been weekly since Skypiea. I was there for all of the discussions, you know, week by week on Arlong Park and everything like that. People are like, well, you know, maybe the fire of Ohara melted Saul, right? But the thing is that it's been so out of sight, out of mind for so long that I was able to process this and really enjoy it. It's not just the fact that he's alive, but that he is carrying the will of Ohara, that he is the literal librarian of Ohara now, on Elbaf, giving us the reason, the impetus to go to Elbaf. So everybody that said we weren't going, ha ha, another one. We're going, we're always going to Elbaf. Elbaf is the reason for One Piece. Elbaf is why Oda wrote this story, because of Viking mythology, okay? We were always going to Elbaf. Saul being there is so good. I've seen people say that other people in the community are not happy with Jaguar D. Saul being alive. Why? I've heard some of the complaints are that his fake out death and return diminishes the pain that Robin went through. How? She knew Saul for like 4 days. Everybody else she knew for her entire childhood, for her first 8 years, they're dead. They're actually dead. Nico Olvia, dead. Clover, her Shanks, her Hiralook, her Zeph, whatever. Clover's dead. She is the last of Ohara. It doesn't mean that somebody else from Ohara is alive. Saul was not from Ohara. He just happened to meet Olvia while she was captured and spend enough time with her for Olvia to basically break down the game to Saul, enough to where when he heard pieces of what the Void Century could be, these hypotheses and everything like that, he ran away from the government. Like, whoa, I can't have anything to do with this. I'm done, I'm out. You want me to be one of the vice admirals of the Buster Call and do all of this stuff? No, I'm good. I'm so good. And then he leaves and basically wages war against his own organization, throws battleships, goes up against one of his supposed best friends, Kuzan, on the day that likely shaped the turn that Kuzan has where now he is outside of everything. That moment built everything. This was the light of the rebellion. Robin is still the light of the revolution. We now have confirmation that Ohara's demise is what gave Dragon the impetus, the idea to go and create the Revolutionary Army. Makes sense. This is why Robin was so sought after at Tequila Wolf. Ah, the light of the revolution is here. There is so incredibly much to unpack in this chapter. Let's go. And if you're new here, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Here we go. This is okay. And it gives reason to why Oda made Saul a D. He is now an enemy of the gods. The will of Ohara lives on. There are double meanings throughout the entire story now. When we see Aokiji in Eni's lobby, and he tells Robin that the will of Ohara still lives, he's not only talking about her, he's also talking about Saul. He inherited the will of everybody that died that day. Everybody that risked their lives to throw the books into the lake, so that Hadradin, Gerd, Goldberg, members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet right now, who teamed up with Saul, fish those books out of the lake. We see in chapter 398, the I Wanna Live chapter, it starts with Marines looking down into the lake and seeing the mountain of books. And they're too stupid, too ignorant to do anything about it. They just walk away from it. The government destroyed the tree, they killed all of the people, everything except for Robin. They basically called it a win. They didn't decide, hey, you know what? Let's see if there's, anything that remained. People are saying the government failed. I mean, to a degree, but I mean, there's still hundreds of people that are dead. They won in that regard. They stopped really widespread archaeology, but they did at the same time, by committing this genocide, create the Revolutionary Army, put Robin in position to discover everything about the true history, and let Saul set up the Library of Ohara on Elbaf, which Vegapunk read. So Vegapunk knows things now. Can he read the poneglyphs? Probably. I mean, if everybody else could, Robin was able to figure it out as an 8-year-old from the texts that they had. Does that diminish things because now Vegapunk can read the poneglyphs as well, if he can? No, because Vegapunk probably isn't going to make it out of this arc. So it doesn't matter. He's not going to Laugh Tale. Robin is. Saul isn't going to Laugh Tale. Robin is. Saul knows this. Dragon knows this. Kuzan knows this. Everybody's playing their role. That's what this whole series is about. And by the end of it, we'll find out that most of these deadbeat parents aren't really deadbeats at all. They're just playing their role. And timing plays a huge part of everything. There are 3 things that cannot be changed: inherited will, the flow of time, and the dreams of the people. Dragon says it. Flow of time is going to continue on. I mean, I've seen other translations where it's the destiny of the age. Everybody is playing a role into their own destiny, whether it's time or anything like that. Dragon's playing his role, Luffy's playing his role, Garp's playing his role, Shanks is playing his role. Everybody is doing something to put the pieces in order to take down the world government. That's the goal. They have oppressed people. They united 20 kings against an advanced nation. Basically Wakanda, right, for Marvel heads. They had all of this technology. They were jealous. These guys weren't sharing, perhaps. And then instead of taking what was theirs for themselves, they decided to just destroy it all, start fresh.
It's free real estate.
We learned that Alabasta is one of those kingdoms a while back. Will Luffy and the gang learn about Vivi's history with the Void Century? Not herself, but her, her great grandfather or whatever was a bum.
Savage.
Whether he just gave into peer pressure or whatever. When Vivi comes back into the story, this could be something that she has to reconcile with as she works to take down the world government with the Straw Hats as well. And where did I say that I expect Vivi to be? On Elbaf. Could she learn about this from Saul? Meeting back with Dory and Bragi and, these characters that she already has a relationship with. Potentially. Is Saul a part of Sword? Very possibly. We know that Saul was a former Marine. He was a vice admiral. You go back to chapter 0. Who's he standing with? Garp, Sudu, and Kuzan. All members of Sword as far as my headcanon allows. Garp being the leader, wanting to take down the celestial dragons based on whatever happened at God Valley and different histories between himself. I mean, and that's why he has a son going after the world government in the first place, because he probably shared things that maybe he shouldn't have with Dragon at some point. Suru by way of the Drake connection, and then Kuzan is just always admiring Garp in every way. We see Kuzan with Garp at the end of Ennie's lobby as well. He owes Garp a favor, you know, taking it back to Long Ring Longland. Everything is tied together. There are good people within the Marines. They even talk about it in this chapter. Dragon and Vegapunk are having the conversation that there are people within the organization that are not bad, and that's why I believe Sword to be that. When we learn about the man marked by flames at the end of Wano, and I'm sure there's plenty of people talking about this, we talked about it at length during the stream. Yes, it makes so much sense for Saul to be the man marked by flames. He's covered in bandages. They could be ice burns, but Ohara was also on fire, literally. So when the ice melted, he could have also burned and needed to be bandaged up because of that. Either way, the man marked by flames is Saul. And when they talk about it, when Killer and Kid bring up the man marked by flames, who does Oda focus on? Okay, one, Robin, with a question mark and a very sincere face. Obviously, this is where we're going with this. And Law has a very knowing look as well, which was brought up. Law is Sword, because Kuzan probably knows that Saul is alive by this point. Law probably knows as well. The evidence just keeps piling up. If that's new information for any new viewers, please check out the Laws and Sword video for all the other compiled evidence. Saw some people asking, could Dragon be Robin's dad? Not completely out of the question, but Nico Olvia is definitely not Luffy's mother. Okay, the timeline doesn't work. Luffy was not even born at the time of Olvia's death, because Robin is at least 12 years older than Luffy, and she was 8 during Ohara, so the math just doesn't line up. But why is Dragon coming to Ohara? Like, I think that would be an interesting angle if the flowers weren't only for Clover, but that he was showing up because he did have a relationship with Olvia. After the events of Dressrosa, Koala and Dragon have a conversation, and Dragon specifically asks Koala how Robin is doing. Not Luffy. He doesn't care. He wants to know how Robin is doing, the light of the revolution. Man wants to know potentially about his daughter. Look, I'm not entirely on board with it, but I'm also okay with it. If Robin was Luffy's half-sister, whatever. Who were the freedom fighters? Was Olvia one of the freedom fighters? Potentially. We don't know what that group consisted of. Was Ivankov and Kuma also part of the freedom fighters, or did they not show up until later on with the Revolutionary Army? One of the most interesting things about this chapter is just the audience that's hearing this. Because a lot of this stuff is things that we've speculated or either known for many years, but the Straw Hats are finally hearing these things. You know, like Sanji had no idea that Ivankov was one of the founding members of the Revolutionary Army, or even part of it. That's the really neat part about this, and I think we're really on the precipice of getting Kuma lore as well. Because Bonnie is not going to sit idly by now that we have the actual Vegapunk, Einstein, tongue out like the photo, and it's no mistake that he looks like Einstein either. Here he is creating weapons of mass destruction for the world government, just like Einstein did for the United States government. He created the atomic bomb. Oda's doing this on purpose. And one of Einstein's most famous quotes is, "I don't know what weapons will be used to fight World War III, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And I think that quote really applies to One Piece in the sense of, you know, the void history and everything being that World War III. We're in the sticks and stone era now. that is rebuilding itself and getting ready for World War V. We're getting really down a rabbit hole here, but hopefully you can kind of follow through. It seems very apparent to me that Vegapunk has chopped his brain up into 6 different pieces, his gigantic head, and given a piece of his brain to each one of his satellites. And that's why they're all part of this hive mind, because they are literally all part of one mind. Vegapunk can warp. Is this technology, or is this a genetic recreation of Van Augur's fruit? It's very interesting. He's playing around with time and space. He's bending things around, basically going wherever he wants to. The Einstein cross, which this was something that was brought up during the stream. If you look this up, which, of course, I'm going to put the picture right here. It looks like the world government crest, right? But this is just a collection of stars. This is a quasar, right here. Oda's doing this on purpose. He wants us to put all of this together. Where do we go from here? I'm really expecting 1067 to be another lore-heavy chapter, all right? Frankie has already questioned Shaka, Drip God, about Kuma. Bonnie is angry with Vegapunk, and Vegapunk doesn't seem to be, he seems very aloof. Like, all of the missing pieces of his brain, have made him stupid. And he's acting as though nothing is wrong with Bonnie, which may imply that Vegapunk doesn't think that what he did to Kuma was very wrong. Or he knows how to reverse it, but maybe Kuma didn't know that. Either way, Kuma, Dragon, Vegapunk, they're all in it together with this whole Kuma business thing. 1067 could be the chapter where we finally learn about Kuma's true motives. Bonnie hears it, gets more of an understanding. This arc is really heating up to the point where it really may just be Sabaody length. We get to a point where there is a mass exodus from Egghead. It could be, as devastating as the end of the archipelago for a number of different reasons, and that's what gets us on the road to Elbaf, or we're in the moon, wherever. But either way, we're going to Elbaf at some point. Shaka wants to show them something. I don't necessarily know what that is, but perhaps it could be related to Ohara. Could it be about the moon? Could it be about the several moons that, One Piece has? This is also the time for Luffy to learn that he's a Zoan. And I think that 1067 is the perfect time for Vegapunk to give Luffy that knowledge. And maybe we can also find out what classification Chopper is. Hito Hito no Mi model what, Vegapunk? Tell us. Because it's not just human fruit. There has to be a classification. Will we also learn that Robin is some form of a Hito Hito as well? With the way that she can kind of, even though she can produce things, it is kind of a transformation as well, especially after seeing Demonio Floor. For all we know, Bonnie could be one too. And like I've said before, perhaps all devil fruits are actually Hito Hito no Mis because they're carrying a soul within them. The lineage factor of something or someone. We're also going to need to see Zoro and Brook real soon, and the element that is going to shake things up, because we do not have a villain yet. And it's high time we know exactly who we're dealing with and who's going to, really put this on edge. And that could be Kizaru. That could be Fujitora, who is definitely going to switch and show that he's been working with Vegapunk this whole time on the SSG project, right? Sentomaru could appear. Could Shaka be showing them more Seraphim? A gigantic room of Seraphim clones, like Sanji saw in, Judge's workspace. I can't stress how much I enjoyed this chapter. I can't stress how important this chapter is, how monumental it is, and it also needs to be protected at all costs. If you know someone that is starting the series, you need to make sure that they believe that Saul is dead. This is one of those twists that you don't want someone to find out early. You really don't. You don't want someone that's new to learn that Ace is dead. You You don't want them to know that Robin's going to join the crew, but I mean, they're probably going to know that anyway. But I mean, if you can keep someone as pure as possible, this one hits. It hits in a big way. And I love this. This is fake out done right. It can be done right. Oda is showing us right here. Why? Because it moves the plot forward. It's not pointless. Pell had no plot relevance to return. Saul is actually controlling the narrative. He is pulling them towards him. That's why it works. And that's going to wrap things up, guys. Thanks for rocking with me. And shout out to our new members, Oscar Althausen, Ian Dar, Grateful Wizard, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, DJ BJ32 for either joining or rejoining, and everybody else that, you know, supports the channel, comes by the streams, just comments, and even doesn't comment, but, you know, watches every week or, you know, occasionally when they can. It doesn't matter. I appreciate all of you. All right? And if you're new here, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. We do this every week. And I'll see you next week.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.